when I was late 24, I was studying in the library of Delft, which is a little town close to Amsterdam, where the university was.
Yeah.
I was studying in the library. I was writing my thesis, where suddenly I opened my Instagram and found a private DM, and it was from a very famous model agency in Milan.
Yeah.
The director of the agency asked me if I was a model. I said no, and he asked me, "Would you like to try?" And ironically, in that period, I was just finishing my thesis, so I had a lot of free time. I could have written the thesis all over the world, whether it was in Netherlands or in Italy, it didn't really matter. So I accepted his proposal and moved to Italy for 4 months. And during those months is the period when I happened to know the casting director of Dolce&Gabbanna, and since that moment my modeling career started.
Oh, that's amazing. So,
Yeah.
you're from southern Italy.
I'm from Potenza, which in Italian means power. I'm born there. It's a very tiny city, so usually people who are not Italian don't know where it is. It's in the Basilicata region, which is a region close to, I would say, close to Naples. Just for people who don't know Italy, and I've been lived there for 17 years. And then I moved to Milan, which is in the very north.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And I moved because Potenza is a very tiny city, so there's not a lot to do, and also not a lot of possibility to grow from a professional, but also from a personal point of view.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So you moved for more job opportunities, etc.
Exactly. So first I moved when I was 27. I moved from Potenza to Milan in the north, and to study engineering in Polytechnic of Milan, which is I think it's #1 university in Italy for engineering. And I then studied in Milan, China. I did a double degree program, so I was first in Milan, then to China, and then for my master I moved to London. So I've been living also in London. And then after London, I moved for my second master I came here to Netherlands, where I'm basically based since 4 years. So there's been a little bit traveling around for my study and then for my work.
Yeah. So did you always have a love of education?
Education, what do you mean, like instruction, like school, university?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I've always been fed since I was a child from my parents with the idea that you have to have a good education. So that's why after finishing high school in Italy, in south of Italy, I decided to move to what was the best opportunity for me. And in that moment, the best opportunity was Polytechnic of Milan, because it was the best university I could go in Italy. At that period, when I was 17, I spoke English, but not fluent as I do right now. So at that moment, moving abroad was still considered something too far. So I started in Italy, and then after staying in Politecnico of Milan, I saw in Italy, I started to see that crisis was going on. It was difficult for people to find a job, and therefore I decided to move abroad.
Yeah. So what do your parents do?
My parents is an engineer like me, but he's a civil engineer, so he's into house construction, and now he moved into a renewable energy sector, whilst I'm into our core software engineering. I'm in corporate how do you say, corporate engineering, so a consultancy. And my mom, she's the secretary of a former European deputy, and now he's not anymore a deputy, but he works as a journalist. And she's, as we say in Italy, she's her right arm. So he's the mind and she's the arm.
Yeah. So you're from a very educated family.
Yeah. My mom studied. She was almost a doctor. She was going to become a doctor, and then she gave up because I was born. And at those time, it was very common that women left their education, left their job to dedicate to live at home with the children, which is something I'm against of, but that was very common in the 90s in small realities like south of Italy.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So what is we spoke a little bit about this in DM yesterday. So is the culture of the south of Italy very different to the north?
I wouldn't say very different, but of course you can see there are some difference because first of all, Italy is very long country. It's long, I would say, half of Europe. So you can see some difference both physically and as a behavior. Physically, Southern Italian tend to be shorter and more dark skin and dark hair. In the north, they tend to be taller. I think maybe because they can mix with the Austrian or people who are more in the north. So they tend to be taller and blonde. And when it comes to behavior, usually you would see then the Southern Italian are more warm. So we make fun in south of Italy. We make fun of people of Milan. We say that they organize parties, the birthday parties, and then they let people pay for the party. So each one pays something, and then they organize the dinner. And while in Italy we tend to be more, we tend to give more. So people organize this, for example, lunch at home, and they cook for them and invite a lot of people. Of course, never asking for money or something like that. That's a funny anecdote. But in general, you will see that people from the south tend to be more show more their emotion with respect to people from the north. But in general, I wouldn't create a stereotype, because what I've seen is that Italy is very long. It varies a lot with people. So you see different realities within in a very tiny space. Like still in my region is very tiny, but yet you see a lot of different reality. People are so different from each other. So I cannot really make a big generalization and say, yes, in the north they are in this way, in the south they are in this way.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
That's more. Let's say it's more a funny anecdote.
Yeah. Well, every Italian person I've met or interviewed, whether they are from the north or south, they've been lovely. So I think you're right. It's more of a funny anecdote.
Yeah, exactly. Then a lot varies also from the education you had. So I would say that usually, in Italy, you would see a lot of difference from people who have received a good education with people who had received a bad education, of people who have lived in, I would say, calm zones with respect to people which have lived in more violence or the high criminality rate zones. So as I said, there are a lot of reality, and making a generalization is really impossible.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So, when you were younger, what exactly did you want to be? Did you want to be an engineer?
When I was younger, I wanted to be two things. The first one, wanted to be an actor, because I simply loved watching movies since I'm a child, and I still do right now. And the second, I thought, if I don't become an actor, I will become definitely an engineer. Also because I was seeing the example of my dad. And but if you're born in a tiny city like mine, some things I consider to be impossible. So when I used to say also in my family, when I was a child, I want to become an actor, you usually hear the classical sentence, "That's impossible. That's not going to happen." So I soon remove it from my mind, and I decided I would have become an engineering. And then that's exactly what I did. I loved math. I was good in math, physics, calculus. And so I chose for the road of engineering. And yeah, that's how my engineering career start. There's been also a period when I was 16 that I thought about being a model, and I would have loved to try. but yet I was living in my tiny reality. So also there, I was thinking it simply was impossible. So I actually never tried until late 24. I was scouted on Instagram.
So you got scouted on Instagram?
Yes. And funny enough, that's, I would say, thanks to my brother, because I didn't have Instagram until beginning 24, and I didn't even want to have it.
Yeah.
And once my brother, he said that he looked at my Facebook and he didn't like the picture I posted. He told me, your picture are so low quality. So he told me, do one stuff, open Instagram and just post nice picture of yourself. So I would say, so maybe if it wasn't for my brother, I wouldn't even have been scouted.
So when you got that DM or whatever from the agent who scouted you, was there part of you that didn't believe it's real?
No, I believed it was real because that guy, I won't say the name for privacy reason, but I already see his profile on Instagram a few months ago, casually. So I knew this guy was real, and I know these agents exist because I've heard it in the past, even if I wasn't not in the fashion world. Yeah. And moreover, it was a verified profile, so he had more than 100,000 followers with a
kick.
With the kick. So I knew it couldn't be. I knew it couldn't be a fake. So no, I haven't thought that's not possible. But I just thought I was not excited as probably I should have been, because in my mind there was still that voice that I had from when I was living in Potenza, which was telling me, forget it. It's not possible. You live in the real world, and the real world, you are an engineer and you will never become a model. So I just took it. At the beginning, I didn't think then this possibility would have turned into a reality. I just realized it when I moved to Milan and got my first job for dolce&Gabbanna.
Yeah.
That was the moment when I thought, okay, that's happening for real. That was not a joke.
So did anyone in your family or friends around you at the time say, oh yeah, you can be a model, you've got that look?
I've been saying it since I was 15. At the seaside, there were some friends of mine who would tell me, you look like a model. And also in my friends from fencing, where I used to train. I trained fencing for 8 years in Italy. They used to tell me, you look like a model. But it would just, so I took as a compliment. I just said, thanks. But as I said, since in this little reality, we didn't think that you can realize such things that for us are too far. Yeah. I just kept as they were compliments and they remained compliments. I didn't think that I've then become one. Yeah. So yeah, there's been people telling me that also at university, but as I said, never thought. I just took it as a compliment, and that's it. But no one told me maybe you should approach an agency, because probably also they thought that was a very far word from us.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So so you were modeling while at university?
I started modeling while I was finishing my second master in the Netherlands. Yeah. So I was modeling, meanwhile I was writing my thesis. Yeah. And that's the period where it's been easier to model. Then I'm modeling while I'm working. Yeah. Which I can say I can manage it pretty well, because in the Netherlands they are very first of all, they are really open-minded, and second, I do a work which gives me a lot of freedom. So I can really manage. I can go to castings and meanwhile work. I can do meetings online in every part of the world, so it doesn't really matter where I am. So I can say my work, even if it's really demanding, gives me a lot of freedom, and I know how to handle it pretty well. So I would say I'm multitasking. So I can manage these two things together.
So when you first did your campaign, or whether it was the catwalk with dolce&Gabbanna. How did you feel?
The very first show, I remember I was shaking. First of all, because I never had a fashion show before, so not even I was starting directly from the top. You know, I have no experience at all. So I was shaking because there was Domenico Dolce, which is one of the two on Dolce&Gabbana, in front of me. He was dressing me before let me going out, and he told me something. I don't remember exactly what he told, but he told something like non farmi fare una brutta figura, which in Italian means don't let me kind of don't look like a fool, like please rock it, kind of.
Yeah.
So I had a lot of expectation, and I remember that before I went to go to the show, my belt broke. So they were trying to adjust it in a very few seconds before going out. So there's been a moment of a lot of pressure, and I remember my heart was exploding. And I can say that the first time I walked pretty tense. I can really see the difference between my first show and the latest one, where I was really much more relaxed and much more into the game.
So what was your family's reaction when you said, "Oh, I'm gonna start modeling. I've got scouted"?
My family at the beginning, they were as I said, we come from a very tiny reality, so they were happy, but at the same time they were not really kind of believing it. So I remember the first time I told my mom, I thought I was booked for a Dolce&Gabbana fashion show. She told me, "Oh, nice, okay, but so what did you eat today?" So she I think she was not realizing it yet. My family realized it when they actually saw the show.
Yeah. So they must be super proud of you, because not only you're an engineer and you're a model, you're successful in two different fields.
My family is proud of that, and also my family, sorry, my friends, they are proud of that. There is my best friend who still lives in my hometown, which every time he meets new people, he always talk about me, and that makes me very happy, of course. And I've seen that there are also people who don't know me, but write me in DM, and they tell me, "Hey, I've seen you give me a lot of inspiration, because at the beginning I see your profile and you just look like a typical model, but then I see you're also in engineering." So they ask me, how do you manage to do these two different things at the same time? So I can say I've received enough compliments about this, let's say, being able to manage those two situations.
So talking about that is what really impressed me about you, actually. When I saw you're an engineer as well, I said, "Oh wow, that's amazing," because you are one of the people who is breaking that stereotype of the the mainstream modeling industry. So how have you found that? So when you meet other models or designers and you're like, "Yeah, I'm actually an engineer as well."
So what do you mean? Like, how do they react when I say those things? Well, I remember Domenico Dolce made me a lot of compliments. So and that meant a lot for me, because for me Domenico Dolce is together with Armani the best stylist that the world of fashion have ever known. I remember he made me a lot of compliments for the fact that I was an engineer, and also for the fact I was a polyglot, because he heard me speaking Portuguese with the casting director. So at the beginning, I think he thought I was Brazilian, and then he realized I was Italian. So from him I received compliments, and also from a Spanish brand I worked with, another Italian brand I worked with. So I must say that people are remain shocked when when they happen to know that I worked in technology, because I think that there is still the stereotype that models just are into fashion, and usually they are not able to do anything else, and they are usually typically cocky guys, very arrogant, then look people from up to down. Then only dates models, then only hangouts with models or actor or people from I don't know, Hollywood. It's sad because it's not so, but there are still the prejudice, and so people, when they happen to know that apparently you apart from having a nice physique of a nice face, you have also a strong brain, they still remain shocked.
Yeah, absolutely. So you said you're like the non-famous Pietro Boselli.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm not. I just I say this to people who I just meet to when they want to understand what's my life. I just say, well, just take Pietro Boselli, and I'm the non-famous version of him, because I follow him. I've seen some of his interview, and in a certain way, I feel related to him. So he's also an engineer. However, I'm more software. He's more into turbo machines, into I think he has a PhD in fluidodynamics. Yes. So we are both engineer, two different fields, but still coming from technology background. We both studying in a London University, studied at UCL, and I studied at Brunel. We both belong to the same category of models, the commercials one. So typically speaking, the nice guy with a sharp face and a strong physique. We both have dedicated a lot of time to study, and have made a lot of sacrifice. We both had to face stereotypes. He complained that once someone in the bank refused to call him doctor, even if it was written on his on his target, because they told me, come on, you are a doctor. And I also had to face during my university life stereotypes from people who didn't know me and thought I was a superficial guy just because I was a model. So in a certain way, I felt my life related to his, and I kind of sometimes I feel I'm his non-famous version.
So if you felt that at university from fellow, students or whoever, that must have been quite frustrating for you.
Sorry, can you? I think the audio is missing. Can you repeat?
If you felt like you had to face some of the stereotypes of being a model at university, that must have been quite frustrating for you.
That's frustrating. That's been definitely frustrating, because after becoming a model, I realized that people, first of all, people who are very close to you can become really jealous. Sadly I lost my best friend in Netherlands. Here we were, I would say, more than friends. We were like, he was like kind of a second brother. And after I became a model, he became cold with me. Started to make jokes like, do you like doing this stuff? He started to look really down on me, and he went far and far and far after actually he stopped being my friend. I've seen a lot of jealousy. That's for sure. I think this doesn't come because people are ugly people. I just think there are some people who feel insecure about themselves, and they kind of project these things to others. I'm seeing mostly prejudice coming from girls. I will tell you this funny anecdote. I remember where once I with a friend of mine, we went to eat in a pub, and he invited a friend of him, and but he presented me to her not as my friend from university, but he presented me as my model friend, and she has been looking down to me all the time because she probably has some prejudice. And only when I started to talk about my career, the career I was starting in the hospital, because before my actual job, I worked for 5 months in a cancer hospital, and I started to talk about how tough was to work in a cancer hospital with cancer patient, having to live also with a cancer patient at home, because my roomie was a cancer patient from the hospital. I started to talk about something very technical, an algorithm that I was trying to develop to remove specular reflection, something we can skip. And at the moment, she looked at me and told me, "Oh, so you're not superficial," and that made me really feel irritated. But then she, of course, she changed completely after knowing that I was a cancer researcher. But in any case, this is just an example that shows that people have definitely stereotypes, and it's annoying when they judge you without even knowing you.
I'm actually quite shocked, actually, because if I heard, a friend's friend or whoever is a male model, I would never have that kind of judgment. I'd actually be really impressed, because really modeling isn't an easy job.
Yeah, I know, but I think this I can say this come from ignorance, or maybe it just come from the fact that we're used to. I think our brain works in boxes, so we tend to. I think it's easier to give a judgment from a person as soon as you meet, based on what you see, than actually to give it after learning to understand how that person actually is. I just think many people choose for the easy way.
So how did it end the night with that girl?
No, done very nicely, actually, because after, as I said, after she came to know that I was a cancer researcher, her attitude towards me changed completely. Of course, I kind of pretended I didn't care about her previous behavior, and we had a nice talk all the night. So we spent the night, all the three, together in the pub. I didn't really mind, because I was used to this kind of behaviors, so it went fine, actually.
So tell me about, you've obviously encountered that with your friend's friend, who's a girl, but tell me what you've encountered while dating.
That's okay. Actually, with dating, it's even worse, because there's this very big misconception that model guys date multiple girls at the same time. They have multiple girlfriends at the same time. They flirt with everyone. Their DM is full of girls asking them to go out. So, of course, a girl, like every girl should be, she wants to feel special. So she already puts the model into a box. That guy is going to betray me. He's not serious. He's arrogant. He's cocky. And that of course doesn't help. Of course, moreover, now in the period of Corona, where there's not a lot of opportunity to go out and meet new people, and with the online dating that is taking place, that doesn't help at all. People feel, I will say, they feel threatened. They feel intimidated. That's why I have to admit, a lot of time when I meet in dating, I meet new girls. I try to keep stay down on the fact that I'm a model. I try not to say that, but then usually the classical question comes, "Oh, do you have Instagram? Can I see your Instagram?" And of course, my Instagram is full of modeling picture, because that's something I use for my work, because sometimes your clients find you on Instagram, scouters find you on Instagram, and of course, girls who see that profile thinks, okay, he's the cocky guy, he likes to show off, and all the other stereotypes kicks in. So that's it. I think it's not only my experience. I heard that a lot of models have experienced the same sort of prejudice.
Because the thought that I had is that male models, because they would have access to other female models, they would have this view that they'd want a girl who has those model looks. Do you know what I mean?
I know what you mean, but I can say, at least from my experience, I've seen. I know I made some good friendship with guys who do modeling, and except one who actually got married with a model, all the other don't date models, don't want to date models, and have usually always dating girls who are not into fashion or acting, whatever. So
why is that, do you think?
I think it comes for two reasons. First of all, male models don't meet a lot of female models, because in the usually fashion shows they're only all for men and for women. Campaigns are usually all for men or for women, so there is not a lot of possibility when they actually they come together. And second, I would say, because at least from my experience, I see that the female models are really reserved, are really into themselves. And I can say that also, at least in my experience in Milan, there are not a lot of commercial models. So the typical, the typical beach girl, the girl that you see at the beach, that you turn around and say, "Whoa, that's a nice girl." There are a lot of editorial models which tend to be very too thin, too I don't know, really too skinny, and I think that guys just prefer girls who are not model, who just ate what they want and they are comfortable with their body, instead of dating girls that you can see that they are kind of suffering, because to have such physique, very thin, very very skinny, they are kind of suffering. Because probably they would like to eat more. And that's also something about fashion that I criticize, because I think fashion should express the best of what a model can achieve, and definitely eating less than what you need, and going close to, I won't say close to anorexia, but going close to disorder, food disorder. It's not a good message. That's another story.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you're absolutely right. So do you have a girlfriend right now?
Right now, I don't. I gave up with my ex-girlfriend at the end of 2019, and since that moment, the COVID came, and I have not had a lot of possibility to meet new people. And I can say the few dates that I had has not been great. So let's forget this. Let's forget this subject.
Yeah, well, it's not easy for anyone during COVID. Let's be honest. It's a big deal if we go out.
Yeah, exactly. And also, for a very long people, I came back to my home. So I've not really I've been traveling around between Amsterdam and my hometown. So even if I was meeting someone, I was soon coming back to my home. So there was not really the possibility to start seriously dating with someone.
Yeah. So how did you feel you adjusted to the culture in Amsterdam?
So do you mean as an Italian in Amsterdam? Do you mean?
Yeah.
Okay, there are a lot of difference in culture between Dutch people and Italian. I can say that when I moved to a new country, I try to take the best that country can give me, and regret the rest. So for me, at the beginning, it's been a big impact coming to Netherlands. First of all, because of the language. So I didn't know a word of Dutch, and I soon understood that if you don't speak Dutch, you cannot really good integrate. And the fact that I was spending time mostly with Spanish-speaking people, that was not helping. So So the first shock has definitely been the language, and secondly, I come from a land where people don't tend to be direct, tend to say things through multiple ways, while Dutch people are super direct, and this has created a lot of misunderstandings. Italian tend not to be punctual, and Dutch people tend to be punctual also for things that we consider irrelevant. So that there are definitely a lot of difference, but as I said, I took the best from Netherlands. So Dutch people are really honest. They say what they mean, and they mean what they say. They are very respectful, and they barely talk bad to other people or try to negatively influence other people. I would say they are the most I would say, yeah, that about correct behavior. They are the most correct people I met, most correct country I met in my life. So I took this part, and I try to instead exclude what I consider to be their negative side. And I now I feel really I feel myself really good here. I speak Dutch fluent, so this cultural barrier, I would say, is almost it's broken.
Yeah.
I keep being myself Italian, so I didn't become Dutch. I became let's say an Italian who talk what he like of Dutch peoples.
Yeah, absolutely. Was there a time you became very homesick?
Yes, it happened, and this is something which happened suddenly. So when I moved from my home, I was very young. I was 17, and I was really excited to go to Milan. So I still feel attached to my home. When I moved to China, I was super excited. When I moved to London again, I was super excited. So I miss, of course, my home, but I felt I'm still young. I want to travel. I want to discover the world. I want to grow as a person. When I was in Netherlands, also again, I was happy to start this new adventure. Why suddenly, 1 year ago, I came back home and I realized that a lot of people I changed, and I lost all these things. I realized my brother, when I left, my brother was 14, and now he's 24. So I've lost a great part of his life. The same for my cousin. When I left, my cousin was so tall, and now he's like me. So he was a child, now he's a guy. And I realized that actually 10 years has passed when I'm far from my home. I see people who became old, people who actually have died, that I miss saying maybe the last words to them. So yeah, now I start to become homesick, because actually, since I'm an adult, I spent all my time abroad.
Yeah.
And it happens that sometimes I walk into a store here in Amsterdam, I hear Italian music, and I just feel like a tiny pain in my heart, reminding me that I'm far from home.
Yeah.
But fortunately, Amsterdam is really close to Italy, so it takes me 15 minutes to go to the airport, 2 hours to go to Naples, and from Naples to my hometown is 1 hour and a half.
Oh, yeah. Gosh.
So that keeps me actually that keeps me pretty quiet, I would say. So every time I have homesick, I just remind me that I'm really, really close to home.
Of course, yeah. So you've got you could say the best of both worlds. So in modeling, and you work as an engineer, so you have a real demanding but a regular job as well. So what would you say you've learned from all of this, from your experiences?
What I've learned is that basically we have in our day 24 hours. And what I've learned is that most of us don't take advantage of all the hours they had. Because, you know, if you just do an ordinary job from 9 to 5, you tend to take, you know that after, if you don't do anything apart from your work, you tend to do your work in the most time you have. So you tend to delay your work after 5. Maybe, you know, you think maybe I can work until, if you have to write a code, you can think, okay, you know what, I'm gonna keep staying here in the office because I don't have anything to do. I will take more time to finish this work. When you do several things at the same time, you learn to become really, really efficient. And then you realize that actually, once you can do more things at the same time, you realize that it's just about your willingness, because there's really no one that can stop you. If you want to do something, you can do. You just have to properly organize yourself, as a Dutch people would do, not as an Italian, as a Dutch person would do. So as I said, if there is a fashion show at 6 and you can still go to that place, open your computer, finish doing what you have to do, then you work for the fashion show and you did 2 things at the same time. There's actually no one stopping you. But unfortunately, many people cannot concentrate on 2 things at the same time. So no one really stopped them. They are stopped by the idea that 2 things at the same time cannot be done. But that's absolutely not the case. And so definitely this experience of being both a model and engineer teach me that how to use properly our time. As I said, I think many people think doing 2 or more things at the same time is impossible, because they are not, because it's really impossible, because they are afraid of the idea of doing too many things. But I can tell that that's definitely not the case. The same also holds with it's another topic, but it's in a certain way related, holds with languages, because many people have asked me, how come you speak you have spoken 7 languages throughout your life? And as I said, we have a lot of hours in our day. If you, let's say, you use an app called Duolingo to learning languages, 15 minutes per day, it's in 1 week, it's more than an hour. In 1 year, it's a lot. It's like taking a private course.
Yeah.
So you actually have the time to do the things you want to do. But you don't have to listen to the little voice in your head that tells it, no, that's not possible. That's not possible. Too many things, man. Focus just on one.
Yeah. Absolutely.
That voice in your head, that it's the hell.
Yeah.
You don't have to listen to it.
Yeah. So you know Italian, you know Dutch, English.
I know Italian, Spanish, then English, Dutch and Portuguese, and those fluent. Then when I was a child, I used to speak fluent French. And when I was in China, I used to speak good Chinese. But when I came back to Italy, I didn't study and didn't have the chance to do that anymore. And but there's been a period when I was 19 where I used to speak it pretty good. So I would say I'm fluent in 5 languages, plus theoretically I could take back those 2.
That's incredible. That is really impressive, because when I was doing my A-levels, I learnt French, and when I was 18, I was really good at it, but obviously I didn't carry on with it at university, so I forgot it. But I know there are a few words now. But what I found is, with language, you just need to keep practicing.
Yeah, definitely. You need to keep practicing, and I think you have to find a way, especially when you are a beginner, to do it, to do something every day, tiny, but every day.
Yeah.
This can be done easily by a language app. Now there is a genius who invented Duolingo, where you can learn, I think, more than 15 languages. And mostly, as I said, motivation, because a lot of people start because it's nice to start a language at the beginning, but then when it starts to become a little bit more demanding, people tend to give up, because the problem is that we tend to want to see the results soon, and with the language you have to wait at least 6 months. And I understand that for some people 6 months can be a lot, but time passes, and at the end of 6 months would pass, and if you started 6 months ago, now you would know, you would be able to at least say something in that language.
Yeah. So how long did it take you to learn Dutch fluently?
Fluently, I would say it took me 2 years. I would say it took 2 years. Of course, there are also different level of fluency. So after 2 years, I was fluent, but I had the strong Italian accent, and I was speaking really not as a high educated people. Now, after 4 years, there's people who think I'm Dutch, who ask me, "What are you from Rotterdam?" I say, "No, man, I'm from Italy. I just moved here 4 years ago."
Yeah.
So, but I would say more or less 2 years.
Yeah, I've got to take your advice because I'd love to learn Italian, but I found it quite hard. But I think I need to persevere, like you say.
I would like to give you advices. Definitely.
Definitely. Well,
First thing, starts to download the Duolingo after this
yeah.
conversation.
I'll do that today.
Yeah.
So, what would you like your life to be in the future in about 5-10 years?
Well, since I would say I after this modeling experience, I learned that you can dream crazy. I would like to see myself as an actor. Now, there's always that's until few time ago there was still that tiny voice in my head which told me, forget it, that's not possible. But since I'm crazy, 1 year ago, so at the age of 26, I started an acting course here in Amsterdam, in Dutch actually, and in that course I was scouted by a very beginning film producer who created a pilot episode for a Dutch TV series where I play, I would say, the funny character.
Yeah.
So I'm one of there are 5 main characters. One of these 5. He will push to bring this series to Netflix or Amazon Prime. You know, this very big channel. And in case that will happen, then I would consider seriously to try to become an actor. Because if this happen, I think I'm 90% sure that I would be the first non-Dutch people to act in Netherlands in Dutch language on a big platform like Netflix. So I, as we say in Italy, I remain with my feet on the ground. So at the moment, it remains a dream. I keep being an engineer, doing modeling. But if this would happen, after a few months, I think he would have a response from Netflix or the other platforms. If this would happen, then I would seriously consider to try to become an actor.
Well, I can definitely see you doing it.
But as I said, at the moment I keep my feet on the ground. So if that won't happen, I will keep going with engineering and try to get. At the moment, I'm into robotic automation. I would like to learn more about data science because I think that's definitely the future. Data science, machine learning, and deep learning.
Yeah, that's amazing. What I'm getting off you since this interview, you're very confident, you're very sure of yourself, and even in and very intelligent, of course.
Thank you.
And I kind of saw that in the DM when we were talking and you just said, "Oh, I'm available to interview." I really like that because not a lot of people would do that. They'd wait for me to connect with them. What makes you have this confidence?
I would say that I was definitely not born with this because I would say I was one of the shyest guys in my city when I was a child, when I was a teenager. Confidence came from a lot of experience I have had through my life. a lot. They are related. I think sport helped me a lot. Doing a violent sport like kickboxing, which doesn't mean that if you do it, you become a violent person. It means that the sport itself is violent. Gives you a lot of confidence because actually you have to learn how to actually defend yourself from an attacker. So you have to learn to become from a people who have fear to a fearless person. I think having trained fencing for several years, having become the university champion of UK with a blessed foot in the middle of the competition, so that was horrible. I couldn't walk for 10 days after. Or having lived in China in an hotel in front of a highway. There was nothing where I was there. I passed through tough moments, having worked as a cancer researcher in a cancer hospital where you just stepped inside there and you see people crying and you don't know what you do because there was nothing I could do. Walking into the operation room and seeing people who are deprived of all their dignity, women which have no more hair. I've seen very awful scenes. And as I said, I done a lot of experience in my life which make me forget the fear and made me get the confidence, because without the confidence I couldn't have stand to those situations. So definitely confidence. I don't think it's something you are born with. I think the experience that you make in your life. Also, maybe having joined these acting courses make me more confident, because when I joined, of course, my Dutch level was not the same as all the other guys who were Dutch. I remember someone also laughed at me when I tried to do improvisation, because at the beginning I was really, I could say I was shy. And then when this producer called me, of course, my confidence level boost, because it proved that that during that course I grow. I made a growth. And there are also, as I said, a lot of experience in my life that make me understand that actually fear is not something external that is stopping us from doing a thing, but it's something that actually it's only in our mind. Of course, there are situations where you should have fears. I know there is a bomb, then please go away. don't remain there. But mostly of our situation, we fear the idea of what will happen if we fail.
Yeah.
And it's enough to forget about it. If you forget about the idea of rejection, the idea of failing, the idea of what other people would think about you, and you just go for what you want, you will realize how fool you were when you had those voices in your head that do not exist.
So confidence in anyone, is needed. It's really good to have, but confidence in a man is especially something that women like, and that ability to be straightforward, to say what you want, to communicate really clearly. So with the guys who are watching this, who want to be more confident, what advice would you have if they feel they lack it?
I will give the same advice I give to people who are close to me. The same advice I gave to my brother, I gave to my closest friends is, do you think you are afraid of? Which means, are you afraid talking to girls? Then at least once per day, talk to a stranger girl. Just go there and say hi. She will probably laugh at you. Then the second day, she will laugh at you. The third time, she will introduce herself. The fourth time, you will have her number. Do you fear social dances because you think you can't move properly? Join a salsa course. Join a bachata course. Are you afraid of violence? Join a boxing club. The first time you would be scared. The first time you will come with a bruise. But after 1 year, you would be a completely different person. So do things you are afraid of. Of course, do not jump from a bridge. But I'm talking about, of course, about things you are afraid to do in your during your day. And usually the confidence, I would say, is mostly built in social interactions, sport, and work. So also with work, don't be afraid if you think that if you want to apply to a job, but you read the description and the description with the description you think you are not fit. Doesn't matter. Apply for the job, do the interview, because maybe you can get it. Actually, the reason why I got the job, I didn't have any robotic background before, but when I applied, I just said, look, I don't have that background, but I will study for it. I'm gonna get it because I come from biomedical background. Mm-hmm. I told them, look, this is what I did with my thesis. If I apply the same passion and the same mental structure to your work, I will learn that work as well. Yeah. So dare to do things you are afraid for, and don't mind for rejections. Because the first day you will have a rejection, the second day you will have a rejection, the 10th day you will laugh of the previous version of yourself.
Absolutely, and I think at this rate you're going to be an actor, model. You're going to have your book out for confidence and advice.
I hope it. Thanks. I take it as a compliment, of course.
Well, Francesco, it is so lovely to talk to you, and I am so glad that we connected.
Thanks. The pleasure has been definitely mine, and the fact that you interviewed a person like Michael B. Jordan of Michele Morone, but you also want to talk to more simple people like can be me or other guys that prove that you are a very simple, down-to-earth person, and a person that you know, what we will call in Italy a genuine person. And really appreciate it.
Thank you. Well, I wouldn't say you're simple. You're extremely impressive, and this is why I was so glad that I've had a really good interview with you. I feel like I'm gonna just keep interviewing you because there's so much more we can talk about.
Yeah. Well, we can definitely see also in the future, or maybe when I will come back to London, because I promised myself that when with COVID would be better, I would definitely like to come back to London for a while.
Oh, definitely. We'll meet, and it would be lovely to have an in-person interview.
Yeah, definitely. I'm Italian, so of course I prefer in person much more than communication via screen, of course.
Yeah.
So that I don't have to keep this close to my mouth all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you so much for giving me your time.
As I said, the pleasure was mine.
I really appreciate it, and I really wish you well in everything you do, because you absolutely deserve it.
Thank you, and I wish you also the same.
Thank you, and yeah, we'll speak soon for sure.
Definitely. You know where to find me. Exactly. And as I said, I would love to definitely to meet you in person when things with COVID get better, and when I'm back from the TV program in end of June.
Yeah, absolutely, and good luck with that.
Thank you. I will keep you updated.
Oh, I'm sure. I'll keep an eye on what you're doing.
Great. So I hope I'll see you soon. That's promise.
Thank you.
Great.
Bye.
Thank you. Have a good day. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.